Hey guys, I'm going to completely 180 my direction what I want this channel to do. I know I previously stated about reviewing, but this is something completely out of the box. And to be quite frank with you, this is something I want to do. Basically, I wrote a book. I've been working on it now on and off for about a year or so. And this is like an alternative if my books, which is quite a strong possibility, never get published. At least my contribution would be to read them out like an audio book on my channel. So either way, if people ever want to read my books, they're always there. So to give you a little taste, the objective is I've finished this book completely now. I've been working, like I previously stated, I've been working on it for about a year. So I'm going to read part of the first chapter and the introduction. I hope you enjoyed this. And I intend to upload at least a chapter every night now. I think there's about between 20 and 25 chapters. And obviously I'll let the introduction explain itself. This is a book that's based on my life. So enjoy. And anyone who pretty much listens to audios, just put your earphones on, or if you enjoy watching my face, then watch my face. But the idea is, as people listen to audiobooks, this is an alternative to that. I know there's audio channels on YouTube, so it's going to be something like that. It's just me reading out my book I've been working on for a year, and like I previously said, I hope you enjoy. And the book is called Autism, A Gift from God. An Introduction to an Autistic Soul. How do you summarise a person's life in one book? The truth is you can't. Not really. So I've decided to pick out what I consider to be my best moments and most memorable experience throughout life. You may be wondering why I've chosen to do this. Well, I'm afraid the truth is very simple. I've wanted to do this for some time, if nothing else but to provide insight on possibly how autism affects people. But more importantly, I can only hope this book might be enlightening for a parent, or maybe even someone who grew up in a similar circumstance than me. Obviously, I cannot speak for everyone else, and I can only provide my own personal experience. This book will mainly explore the teenage years of my life. But before I take you on a journey of joy, happiness, confusion, awkwardness, and sometimes even sadness, let me tell you a little bit about myself. Consider it a summary of my life. I was born 2nd of April 1993 to a Michelle and David Irvine. I was put into care at an exceptionally young age, 18 months, although I'm led to believe. Luckily, I stayed with the same foster family until my later teens, to a Barbara and Reg Hewer, who I still to this very day call my mum and dad, and will refer to as such in this book. Admittingly, I am aware that I am considered to be in the lucky minority, as opposed to the unfortunate many that grew up in care and grew up moving from family to family. So in that aspect, I consider myself extremely grateful. And thirdly, I have autism, or to be specific, Asperger's syndrome. Now we've got the introductions out of the way, let's get into it. And this is part of chapter 1, a creative awakening. If you've ever imagined the most socially awkward, scruffiest looking teenager who seemed to have little or no interest in anything, and I mean anything, you was probably imagining me. 13 was such a bizarre age for me. Academically, I suppose I showed no interest or improvement. I did, however, started to broaden my interest in music. Though admittingly I had no apparent talent in any musical aspect. I still to this very day remember the first time Stevie Nicks told me about her Little Lies, or the time the Pet Shop Boys had Something on Their Mind, or even the time Morrissey was telling me about a certain charming man. All of a sudden, I embraced all types of music. I suppose at 13 that was the only thing I had going for me. I was, if nothing else, open-minded. But where did this musical renaissance begin? To all readers and listeners may have to brace yourselves, as the location of my interest in music is not as memorable as one might expect. It was at a car park in a little estate called Ayercroft. That is at least the first memory I showed an interest in music that I can recall. My dad was picking something up, and often I would wait in the car while he was picking bits and pieces from various shops, though admittingly I don't remember which ones they were. He often left a wide variety of CDs in the glove compartment, and all of a sudden I found myself enjoying a wide selection of music. I would sometimes put the radio on full blast, then quickly turn it back down as soon as he was getting back in the car. Sometimes I would get caught, which would result in a very disgruntled expression on his face. And other times I wouldn't. But generally I didn't care. If I had to choose another hobby or even an interest at that age, it was television. I did have a wide variety of shows that I did admittingly enjoy. But science fiction shows was always a strong interest that I embraced. Let's cut the bullshit. I was obsessed. From Doctor Who to Star Trek, I was hooked. I remember being the age of 13. The show Life and Mars had just started airing on every Monday. I found the concept of a policeman transported 30 years in the past somewhat engaging, however bizarre as this sounds, with the ever over imagination I had then, and still to this day. It's also developed to be a coping mechanism, because I too felt a strong sense of not belonging, that somehow I just didn't fit anywhere. I remember vividly I started thinking to myself, maybe I'm from another time too. That's why I just don't belong. I should also point out that it wasn't until my third year of high school I started building strong, true friendships. But before that, the only true friend I had was a kid my age called Brad. I won't give you his full name for obvious reasons. Who always used to play games with me, such as let's see if we could outrun the sixth formers without getting caught then throttled. In all honesty, I tolerated a lot of this because I didn't want to lose what I perceived would be the only friendship I would have. It was the summer of the second year that I felt the seeds of the human being I would one day become were planted. Before school broke out of the summer holidays, Brad told me he didn't want to be seen with me anymore. And even to this day I remember how broken-hearted I was. Then someone else in my year sort of took me under his wing by the name of Alex. A red-haired, skinny-looking kid with a very big heart. He saw what Brad was doing to me. Until one lesson Alex sat next to me. He put his hand on my shoulder. Just hang around with my mates, stick with me, you'll be just fine, kid. But not long after this situation could be concluded, it was put on hiatus by a long 6-week break of school. Looking back, I often remember my school years and contemplating if this is the same type of situations in Hollywood where would-be celebs find themselves in an environment where their careers and quite possibly their livelihood can be threatened by reputation and popularity alone. A type of climate I strongly resented at first, but little did I know at that time I would soon embrace. That was the introduction, and that was part of my first chapter, and I will upload tomorrow for the end of the first and the entire second chapter. Thank you, and as always, Dancing Bear out.